A subscriber has asked me to make a video on this subject, so I'm going to very briefly cover this topic. When you want accurate cloth collisions, I think the most important thing is to have a good collider. In my experience, you want to keep the collider as simple as you can. This will improve performance, and in my experience, it will also give you a better result with less simulation quality. Let me show you my hand collider. The basic idea of this collider is that each bone of the hand has its own separate mesh. This approach is good when you know the shape of your object is not going to deform very much. Each mesh island is assigned 100% to a given bone. Next, let's take a look at the breast. In this case, we're using a simplified cage for the breast and transferring the cloth physics to the body mesh via a surface deform modifier. For the purposes of cloth physics, it's good to have even quads. That means that the detail of your cloth simulation is going to be evenly spread. The results are also going to be more accurate, for example, because the vertex weight is going to be spread evenly. Unless you're doing a really close-up shot, you might want to remove details such as the nipple. Finally, let's take a look at the physics settings. Looking at the hand collider first, one really important setting is the thickness outer. This will determine how close the mesh has to be for there to be a collision. You pretty much want to set this as low as you can. Note also the damping and the friction values. If you're having trouble with your breast sliding around, try to increase the friction value. If you're animating a fast motion such as a slap, you might want to increase the damping value. Please don't ask me what exact values are correct. This depends a lot on the parameters of your model, and frankly, I don't know. Experimentation is key to get a good result. Let's now look at some important settings on the breast cage. If you want to limit the collision gap between objects, make sure that your breast cage is super tight. Preferably, you should copy your breast mesh and use that as a cage. Note that modifiers such as subdivision surface can introduce a gap between your mesh and your cage. Okay, now back to the physics. Much like thickness outer, the distance setting on the breast cage will determine how far an object has to be for it to register as a collision. The cloth quality steps and collision quality steps can help you get a better result. The trade-off is that these settings can greatly increase your render times. A somewhat overlooked setting is the speed multiplier setting. This setting can help improve the stability of your cloth simulation. The downside is that your results might not be as realistic. Let's see what we got so far. So I think it's looking pretty good already. There's no instability, the breast is staying in place, and the fit is pretty tight. If we zoom in though, we'll see that there is a slight gap between the breast and the hand. Some gap is inevitable, but we can do better than this. Let's lower the collision distance to 0.005 and try again. Now the gap is much smaller. Personally, I'm happy with this result. Make sure you have enough frames for the simulation to run smoothly. If your objects are moving too fast relative to the simulation quality, you're going to get bad results. But yeah, this is really all I got for this video. If you still have trouble, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.